me.
Good to go. We're live. Okay, welcome everybody tonight to our October workshop. With us tonight, we have our entire town board. I'm to my right, Steve Moreau, Sylvia Santiago, Stephen Bedetti, Eve Lincoln. We have our highway superintendent, Anthony Feo, with us, our town clerk, Kelly Allegra, and our receiver of taxes, Susan Scheibel, who refuses to sit in the line of fire. And I'm George Myers. Oh, boy. And, oh yeah, our town attorney is here, Dave Zagon, hiding from me. Hello, David, I see you. Okay, let's get going. First item on the agenda is this unsafe structure over on Cedar Avenue. We have a hearing. It's not a public hearing, it's a hearing for these people to come in and let us know when they're gonna do and what they're gonna do. Now, if they don't come in, then the town will move forward and we'll do it ourselves. And other do it ourselves means demolishing the building and kind of doing what they should do. And then, of course, we'll put that on their taxes. They've been told that by the attorney's office?
We haven't heard from them otherwise.
We did today.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we told them what the story was and we'll see what they're gonna do. If they don't do anything, then we'll take care of it. Next item on the agenda is an agreement between the town of Windsor, town of Cornwall. It's a kennel agreement. They use our kennel that we have out at Stewart Airport very infrequently. So I talked to Stacy and she thought maybe 1 or 2 dogs a year. So you'll authorize me to sign that agreement and it's not the first time we've done it with them. Then we're calling for a public hearing on this sprinkler issue that's been going on for a few years. I guess right after Sean McGuire got killed in a fire, we kind of lowered the space to 5,000 square feet, and somehow it was pushed up to 9,000 in 2006, 7, 8, 9, I don't know. And there was never any town board action. So now town board asked Dave Zagon to look at it, and Dave has now proposed a local law that will take it back to 5,000, right, Mrs. Zagon?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just calling for public hearing. We'll have that in November. Next item on the agenda is something we've talked about a few times, is future plans for recreation. I think the board decided pretty much that we felt that the gym should be #1 on the agenda. And our engineer, Mike Weeks, has developed a plan for the town of Newburgh for a gym, so I think we could kind of use that for ourselves. And Eve Lincoln had a question about how much it would cost, so we had the controller send everybody something today. If we borrowed 10 million, it would be this amount, 11 million, this amount, 15 million. And it kind of runs in the neighborhood of like $70 to $100 a year for residents, okay? Depending on how much you borrow. And one of the things that I think Eve is going to talk about in a minute is adding some stuff to that, maybe the splash pad. And we are doing the pickleball and the basketball out there, and that's already in the works. So now we're talking about the gym and the splash pad. So Eve, you want to speak to some of this stuff?
Yeah, so, all right, so there's 2 sort of recreation plans on the table. I'll talk about the first one that's been lingering for a while. It's to expand Christy Babcock. I know Matt and others have requested an indoor gym for a while. We don't own an indoor gym. We haven't for a while. We used to own one at Stewart, but that's no longer usable. I think we're going to be selling that. So anyways, so whenever we need indoor activities, we have to rent out other spaces. So I know that was a #1 request from recreation, and I believe others in this room agreed with that. So to basically, so our engineer designed a very similar one for the town of Newburgh that they're moving forward with. It's basically encompasses all of what we would want to. I passed out here. I passed out a picture of it. It's 3 big indoor courts and then a full-size indoor track, and then there's like offices and some other empty rooms. And then there's a picture of it on the second page. Is a 1-story long gym, and this is so the budget for this one is between 10 and 12 million, and this is their final design. It's going out for bid soon. So this would be very similar to what we would want at Christy Babcock. We would have to also do expand our parking there. We would have to wrap that bottom lot around, sort of, to the back of the gym there. We met with Mike Weeks and he said the parking expansion is necessary. And then some other things, maybe, Matt had requested maybe like a vehicle pad or batting cages one day. There's a few little things we could add on. The one thing we could add on, I think that a lot of us would agree with, would be a splash pad at Christie Babcock, because to add an indoor pool or even an outdoor pool at this point really, really increases the price of this project. I mean, we're already at 10 million for just an indoor gym. So my opinion would be to hold off on a pool and just do a splash pad. So if you were to add on our increased parking need and then potentially a splash pad at Christie Babcock, I think you're looking more towards between 11 and 12 million, I would say, to be safe if we do the exact same gym for 10 million. So to break that down into numbers. So basically what our engineer Mike Weeks needs from us as the town board to go forward with designing this project at Christie Babcock and to lay out the plans and to basically put it to a drawing and to, eventually have this project ready to put out to bid. He needs a budget from us of how much our budget is, so that way he can design something to keep in that budget. So we would need to tell him a number. And this project will be bonded because, I don't believe we have other funds for this. That can be discussed more. But so basically, the town would do a 20-year term bond around 4.75%. And these numbers are from our comptroller, Doreen, who couldn't join us tonight. But to just, for example, for every $1 million, it basically would be $7 on an average property tax bill of a typical home, assessed value of $40,000. So Doreen says basically a $10 million bonded project would be approximately $73 per a typical home in New Windsor per year. So $73 for 20 years onto a typical home. An $11 million project would be $81 per typical home per year for 20 years. A $15 million project, which, I don't think we would get near 15 million, would be 110 per typical home per year. I'm not sure when that would hit the tax bill, if it's like after the project is started, that next tax year. I'm not sure when the money, that's something to ask her, like what year that would actually start. She said to keep in mind that we still have to issue a $60 million for the WWTP project that will increase tax bills by approximately $160 per typical home. And she said to not forget that we will also need to issue a bond for the Stewart Water Treatment Plant project, which cost is TBD. So if this is something the town board wants to move forward on, we could take a straw poll tonight or go around the table and decide if this is something we want to move forward on doing this project. Also, isn't there an option to send out a bond project for referendum and put it to the taxpayers for vote and not us decide?
Well, you'd have to come in with something asking for it to be done.
Right,
We
so
don't just do it automatically.
so taxpayers have that right.
Ran
Yeah.
over pretty quickly. A lot of people don't know what that.
Yeah.
What Councilman Lincoln was referring to was the wastewater treatment plant, which is a $60 million project, which we got $15 million grant. So it's a $45 million project. We're also in dire straits with the sewer treatment plant. So town board move forward with that. And then we're also in dire straits with Bradley Road. So we've been kicking around what we're gonna do, and now we have kind of decided to move forward with the plant up at Stewart. So once again, it's a kind of guesstimate, but you're probably in that $50-60 million range again for that, which is another bonding project. And this bonding, if it is 12 million, it's probably $90 a year for the average homeowner. If you go forward with the gym and are you including the splash pad then too?
Yeah, because if the gym is 10 million, and then if you add on parking and a splash pad, I'm
Okay.
thinking only not close to $1 million more, not more than $1 million. So I'm thinking around 11 million.
Okay.
We could tell our engineer that that's our budget. We could stick to that if
Yeah,
we want.
no, I think, what did he say? The town of Newburgh was 10?
Yes,
Okay.
this one.
And if it was good, the problem is with that, the prices have gone up.
Right.
As they keep going up, as we know from, we're gonna talk about the budget tonight, everything keeps going up on us. So I guess the question needs to be asked, do we want to bond $12 million for the increase to recreation? So now,
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. I think they bonded originally 10 and they're like $1 or $2 million over what, so they were scaling it back a little bit. I
Right,
think,
right.
I think the problem is that obviously that's a, a 3 or 4 year project. So you
Mhm.
figure the same building now is at least probably 15 million. They had a shovel ready piece of property that had everything ready. We don't. We have engineering costs. We have,
Mhm.
clearing the land. So ours is going to be quite a bit more add on to that.
True.
Um, I think what the our engineer was looking for one of two things. If we're going to hand him that sheet and say, "Listen, we want to do what Town Newburgh has, um, give us a cost with it," then he'll do that. Or we tell him we're going to give you 10 million, and he designs the building 10 million. It could be half of that
Right.
size. So if we're going to come up with a number, we need to come up with a number and not short ourselves. And I think 12 is for what we want to do. What we discussed is way too short,
Okay.
way too short. I think, so if we're gonna do something, we gotta
Yeah.
really consider, I mean, I think a project like this and where we wanna put it would probably be no less than, I guarantee end up no less than 17, 18 million, guaranteed.
So Doreen says a 15 million project, for example, is 110 for a typical home in the winter.
Yeah, it's not gonna be,
So-
it's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you probably add $10 for every million after that, or it's 7 million. Yeah, listen, it's,
And she said it would start on the tax bills in 2025. I
yeah,
see
it
here.
takes a year. I just
Yeah,
wanna mention
so
that. It takes a year to get in there.
2025.
Listen, the issue we are pretty good at debt. We are very good with debt. Remember, the controller's office just did an audit and said that we're in good shape with debt. Most municipalities are close, like most people, that their credit cards are pretty much maxed out. We're in pretty good shape, but however, gotta consider that water plant. And that's like, this is one of these things to me is nice to have. Sewer and water, you gotta have it. It's just enough is enough. We've done enough kicking of the can down the road for the last 20, 30 years. So we're committed to the water plant at this point in time. I think the board's talked about it and we're committed to that. So I guess maybe you want to just go around the straw poll with people interested in bonding for another 18 million? Right? No? So I guess that's the question to be asked. You, pay attention. Okay? So
I mean, we could, or if people want to think about it, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest,
What do you think?
I've been
Looking for
sitting for the last 3 weeks with the comptroller, going over the budget. I gotta be honest, I sat down with her and said, here's the budget before we came to this, and said, we need to shave 3 million to be underneath the $455,000 tax cap. And I'm like, okay. Through all the departments, whether it be the police department, highway, they come out with their wish list, which we had to whittle down a bit for some things. I would have liked to seen them have all of that stuff, but we just can't do that. So to keep it underneath that tax cap, if we think that we're gonna do something like this and be underneath tax cap in the next couple of years, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I mean, we struggled to get it back to the tax cap under the 2% now. I just think we need to, I don't know, maybe sit down with Weeks a little more and say, and maybe have him come to us, give him some designs. Here's a gym we want, give him the Town Newburgh plan. Say, what would this cost us today? Land clearing and, engineering costs to run the infrastructure to it, parking lots, lighting, all that stuff. And he may come back to us and say, I know he wanted us to give him a figure.
Figure so he could design
But
something.
I mean, I'm okay with him coming to us and saying, listen, for us to do this in the town of New Windsor on that footprint, it's gonna cost you X.
Okay.
And if it is, then we know we
you could
can,
invest that money because he's not
Yeah,
gonna do it for free.
exactly.
So let him
Right.
charge us to do this
exactly.
and see what's what. Listen, point well taken. Things keep going up.
Mhm.
I just saw yesterday, which to me was pretty telling. Girl Scout cookies went from $5 to $6 a box, right? Kelly? Right? So things are going up. And the fact that we're able to stay under the tax cap with the inflation and all the other stuff we're fighting was a pretty good move by the town board. But I'm kind of tend to agree with Stephen that as time goes on, doesn't look to me like it's going to get any better. So you have to just keep in the back of your minds about the bonding for the water plant, right? So I think maybe that's the way to do. We go get the Weeks, tell him you come back to us and tell him what you think, right? And I mean, he tells me to stop saying this. I'm not going to be here, so you got to kind of figure out what you're going to do. But is that what everybody wants to do? What you just said? You do?
I mean,
But it sounds like, you would be like a no vote anywhere, like a hold
No,
up
no,
vote,
I
no?
want, no, I want to, obviously, there's a big picture here.
Right.
I want to evaluate, I mean, we can certainly do some small projects as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had talked about something maybe at Rossetti Park, you know, a standalone there. If we do something at it, at, Christie Babcock, like we're right now, we're gonna do the, basketball and pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's gonna be a grant, some of that is gonna be done by us. We're gonna, I don't know if Anthony knows this, but they're gonna do some land clearing, I think,
Yeah,
a
it's
little
a
bit.
50/50.
Yeah, and then we'll do that, and then we can, you know, I think we could probably slow walk some of it, and then at some point we need to, I mean, you know, George, he says 60 million in water plant, I don't think we really know it, we're just a guess, it could be more, or we could actually get some money from some things we got, you know, legally coming back to us where it would, make that a lot less. So who knows? You know, I mean, so we could be. But I mean, I know for me, and I don't know if you guys sat down and looked at it, but I mean, you take a look at this budget and see how that works with how you got to cut it back in the tax cap. You know, if everybody's, you know, good and the board wants to say next year let's go over to tax cap, then you know I'd rather not see that obviously. But
Mhm.
I know like just the, you know, I guess part and parcel of this, I see the court's got another 20 some evictions going on because if people can't pay their bills and, you know, we want to, you know, possibly hit them with another $200 tax bill, you know?
All right, so
just gotta be
you're
careful.
open-minded is what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah. So one more thing, because, I had a feeling that maybe the majority wanted to hold off on this large project, which is fine. That's, everybody's entitled.
We haven't heard from two of the board members yet either.
Right, but I know, no, I just wanted to say that, the other project on the table, in case the board does want to hold off on the large project at Christie Babcock, is the smaller splash pad at Rochetti, and I do have the prices on that we can go over, but if you
Yeah,
want
go
to
ahead. What
still,
are
okay. So it's a 50 by 50 splash pad. So here's a picture of it. There's a whole bunch of themes you can pick, like flowers, animals, sports. I just thought sports looked nice, but so here's a picture of it. It's, got basically like the one we saw with
Everybody has it,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
I have it.
Here, everybody has it?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we can
Okay,
take it.
all right.
Yeah, raindrops.
Yeah. So, so there's a picture of it. So the quote these quotes aren't final. We're like still playing around with a couple pieces of equipment, but it looks like 150 and change for the equipment, and then 150 and change for full installation. 151,900 for installation, 158,000 for the equipment. So we're looking at a little over three, but then we have to add a fence, which Matt said he was gonna ask Keith to get a final quote, but a new fence around it with a gate and a lock. All that would be between 10 and 15,000 probably, and then some benches, maybe like 5 or 6 benches. They're about 1,000 a piece, so probably like I would say between 350 and 4 when it's all said and done, because we have to dig up that old hockey pad and then replant grass and move the fence and maybe add a couple walkways. I would say 350 is safe, but up to 4 would be like a safer number to rely on. I'll keep working on this quote and try and get it finalized, but we would have to decide where that 400,000 potentially is coming from. I know you had some ideas on that. But,
Now,
yeah.
what, was there a decision on the filtering of it, or was it gonna use?
Yeah, sorry. So no, still playing around with whether or not it's more costly to invest another 100,000 now to recycle the water and then save on water costs over the years, or which it looks like that might be better. But we're still getting some figures from other towns to see really how much water it would cost us and if it's worth investing in a recycled plant. So yes, if we're going to recycle the plant, thanks for reminding me, that is about probably an extra 100. So that would probably move it closer towards the 500 figure. And so that money would need to come from somewhere if that's what we want to go forward with.
You know, and I think, as we all know,
Mhm.
there's obviously some other hidden costs in there,
Sure.
engineering and stuff like that. And then cost of operating it in the future too. Is also another thing we gotta.
Like
it's gotta be
maintenance?
Budgeted, yeah, maintenance.
Yeah.
I know I shared it with George and we've had a couple back and forth and I did with Steve too. There was, some health concerns. I know there's been
Not
floating
health
around.
concerns, there was some deaths.
Yeah, no, the health concerns, and regarding them too, that we gotta maybe talk about too one day. That it's just something that we need to,
There's been some kids who have died from some kind of infection that they got at these splash pads. There was one that was local. And then I started looking and I kind of came across 5 out there. Have you read anything about that?
I mean, yeah, I read an article that happened, but that also doesn't happen at many splash
Yeah.
pads. So I mean, we can't, I would hate to make a decision based off of one splash pad that perhaps didn't balance their water
well,
properly.
the only thing I do is, well, that's what we gotta find out, where
Yeah.
they self-contained water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's important. I
Now,
mean,
that needs a look. Listen, one is
Yeah.
enough for me because
Yeah.
you know me, I'm always looking at liability. That was the question. So I think that if you want to just take a look at that and see how that happened and it wasn't contained or was the water recycled, was
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's gonna be more liability to recycle the water because you have to make sure your chemicals are always on point. You have to check them every 2 hours and stuff.
yeah, and you
so-
gotta have certified people for that.
Right,
And you
so-
gotta, and talk about liability, we gotta, I don't even know what the cost of that is still, liability insurance.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
could be,
Right.
this could be a very expensive endeavor,
Mhm.
for a couple month project. So that's something we just gotta
Yeah.
all be.
So listen,
Thought
this
about
would be the smaller one that would go down at 244.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a 50 by 50, so it's about half the size of the pad that's down there now. We would just plant grass and put some picnic tables
Mhm.
and the rest of the space there. Because it's a pretty large space, but we would only use about half of it.
Well, actually, at 350 to 400, when you talk about 17, 18 million, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But I really would caution you, I would take a look at these debts. If it became because the water wasn't being recycled, then maybe it's better if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
recycle water. You don't want anybody dying. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? To you? All right, so you come back to us with that, all right?
Okay.
Real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
It just-
We didn't go around.
Right, right, right,
Wait,
yeah.
Sylvia, what did you?
Okay. Yeah.
I agree. I think the smaller piece would be the better way to go, as long as we, check every corner that we can and make sure that we understand what you're getting into and what the real cost will be as well going forward.
All right, Steve.
Just real quick, yeah, Steve brought it up that the site plan approval permits, permit fees, plans, engineering drawings are not included. Also, the assembly and installation, Raindrop does not provide installation services, so that's not even on here, so you just,
Put it together yourself?
yeah, I don't know, yeah.
No, there's a second quote.
Each quote 150 is
Oh, there's a
installation.
second one?
Yeah, there's a second quote for installation.
Me and you.
And who's that?
That's just like an estimate from a
Oh, this is
company.
Tri-Season.
Exactly, yeah. That's like who they've used, but we would put it out to bid and
150
then
grand there, okay.
whoever would come in on the bid. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at a good $500,000 for that.
Mhm. Yeah, which is much more reasonable to find that money.
Then 20 million.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
Trust me, I went into.
Gonna be too
approval
much money.
for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so that's where we
Okay.
are with that one.
All right, thanks.
The
Thank
next
you.
item on the agenda is Stephen and Sylvia came up with this, you want to talk about it, what we did down the community center? for
Yeah,
the
they
seniors?
actually today installed the IT. Thanks, Patrick. And the buildings and grounds guys did all of, they did the TV in the Nebraska Center. It's mounted on the wall with a sound bar and they can watch their shows and stuff. And the community center, we come up with we shouldn't say we, Patrick did come up with the idea instead of mounting on the wall. It's on a cart like we have in court. So they can move it wherever they want in the room to make it convenient for them to do what they gotta do. I don't think the stovetop came in yet, right, Patrick?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, so the stovetop's gonna be in, that's gonna be done, but that was that $5,000 grant from the county, from Joe Manu.
Yeah, Joe Menuda
yeah.
got you that
We
grant,
got the
right?
grant.
And how's the sound in the Marasco Center?
They still have not put the panels up yet.
Oh,
They're-
okay. All
They're,
right, good.
they're-
That's just curious.
yeah, they,
So the sound bar, so.
the actual TV sounds pretty good in there now, but it is, when you get a lot of people in there talking and everything, it gets a little loud. But they have the sound acoustic panels for the walls that they're gonna put up in the ceiling. Once they get a rainy day, they're gonna come and do that.
All right, so listen, that was a good job by you two, and we thank Joe Menuda for getting that money from the county for us. Get some of our county money back. Next item on the agenda is something I just wanted to put on the table for you guys to look at, the Community Day in 2024. it's gotten very big. There's no question about that. It's morphed from what it was in the very beginning to, I don't know, now we have thousands and thousands of people there. So there was a lot of talk on social media about, I didn't go, it was too crowded. A lot of people don't live in the Windsor, and, you know, all the money that's poured into this and all the effort poured into it is from the Windsor taxpayers and the Windsor town employees. So the concerning issue for me is the liability aspect. Once again, I'm always concerned about the liability. When you get so many people and in a small area, something could happen. We've been very fortunate that nothing has happened. Um, we do have the National Night Out. That's pretty successful. The first time we took a run at it was very good. And what's good about the National Night Out is that every municipality is having one at the same time and date. So you're pretty much guaranteed to get the Windsor residents at that particular event. Where at the community day, we had some, we were able to figure out that about 25% of the people were the Windsor residents, 75% therefore were not. Where I would say just at the National Night Out, it looked to me like maybe 90% of people know it. So all I'm saying is that next year, early next year, you should kind of take a look at what you want to do with community day. So there's a lot of options. You do away with it. You can shrink it down. If you did away with it, you could do everything else at National Night Out. Or if you want to shrink the times down and you could charge for different things. Right now, everything is free, right? Once you hear free, we all run in because it's free. So I think it's something that the next town board needs to take a look at. Like, where do you want to go with Community Day 2024? And I would just say, once again, to me, for the whole 4 years that I was here, I was worried about something happening, right? We have the police there. We're on patrol. We have our own recreation people wandering around, but it only takes one person where something really, really bad could happen. So I'm just saying that I'm recommending that you take a hard look at it in the beginning of the year, where you want to go in 2024. That's all I wanted to put on the table. Next item on the agenda is the Halloween curfew, which we've had in effect for many, many years. It seems to work. This year, the Halloween falls during the week. I think it's a Monday. So the resolution will be on the agenda Wednesday night, and it has to do with the curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. For the last few years, more than a few, we've been very fortunate. We used to have, we were under attack, but that has seemed to stop. So we have a full police presence out there those nights, but this is nothing different than we've done for the last probably, I don't know, 20, 30 years. So that'll be on the agenda. Next item on the agenda is something we've been bouncing around here for, I don't know, a year or two. The medical benefits for elected officials, and then it became very clear to me when we started looking at it, we didn't have anything really in place for most of the department heads. So what we did, we went back and forth, and pretty much what we're going to do is the benefits for the department heads and the elected officials will pretty much be what it is for the CSEA members. So that CSEA contract will be used for whatever the CSEA members are getting. The department heads and the elected officials will get pretty much the same thing, nothing more and nothing less. So it depends on what contract that you come in on. So someone came in on a contract a couple, 3 years ago, they're under contract, whatever that was now that they have. And going forward, when someone comes in for 2024, they'll be under that contract. So I think that there was a sense of fairness there, that we weren't giving anybody anything more or anything less than the employees were getting in their contract. Now, the CSEA contract is up the end of this year. They'll be negotiating a new contract with the new town board in January. So that's where we are on that. So I know that we are all quite familiar with what went on. We all talked about it for, well, we've kind of had enough of it. But I think that it was brought up by somebody, I might have been Stephen, that, oh, CSEA is getting this, why don't everybody get this? And to me, it kind of made sense. I'm not giving anybody anything more or getting anything less than our employees. And I thought that was pretty fair. So we've all talked about it. So that'll be on the agenda on Wednesday night. The next item on the agenda is the budget for 2024. So I know that everybody has been involved with it. I've heard from everybody and everybody had their ideas. And as Stephen mentioned a minute ago, we are under the tax cap. How many more years you'll be able to be under the tax cap? is a very good question. The only thing that I will tell you is that you have a very, not healthy, but okay fund balances in all of the balances. So there's all different budgets. You have the general fund, the highway fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, the ambulance fund. So there's a lot of different budgets, but we're in pretty good shape right now with all of those budgets. But every time we buy something or get something, the prices keep going up and up and up and up. And anybody who goes shopping knows that that's the case. So we face the same thing that a household faces. Whenever we buy something or get somebody to fix something, the prices keep going up on us. So we're under the tax cap. I think I don't think, I know. The increase for the average homeowner will be about $58 a year. So we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 or $5 a month. That would be the increase. All right, which is pretty nominal. And once again, I always tell people, take a look at your tax bill. 75% of your tax bill goes to the school. About 10 or 12 or 13% goes to us, and the rest goes to the county. So we are providing a lot of services. One of the services that has cost us a little more money this budget is the ambulance service. But we all know how good the ambulance corps has been. They say people all the time, I'm forever getting notes from the doctors at St. Louis Hospitals in Westchester County, what a professional outfit this is, and we have contracted with Cornwall now to do them. So they are facing the same thing that everybody else is. All their prices have gone up. So we have raised the money that they get from the town, and we have given them some money to get them straightened out. So we were able to do that, but we unfortunately had some of the CARES package money, ARP, whatever they call it. So they're in pretty good shape, and we would suspect that we'll be in good shape for a number of years to follow. I've had the ambulance corps in my office and explained to them that we were kind of making sure they had everything they needed to do, but I didn't expect them to come back to the Newtown board anytime soon. So I always tell people that if we meaning the ambulance corps, we will get you to the hospital alive. What happens to you after that? We hope that you stay alive. But our response time is in the neighborhood of 6 minutes, and they have every imaginable thing that they need to keep people alive. And they're very professional, and we now have them on a pretty good footing down here. He faces the same thing that we're facing. Everybody is paying EMTs and other personnel more money. They're demanding more money. So he's facing that he being Mike Bake, he runs that operation down there for us. So that's where we are with the budget. I mean, I don't suspect anybody would have any problem with that. Anybody who's, once again, that's Girl Scout cookie said it all for me, how crazy that is. You looked at it and went from $5 a box to $6 a box. So we'll have the special meeting on that. Anybody want to comment on the budget?
I just the budget stuff, I guess for the town board members, that if you guys have any ideas for next year, I know we're in the middle of the budget, we're gonna approve it, but if you're at any time, go talk to the comptroller and tell her, listen, I got some ideas and start getting the wheel rolling now. So when we do go sit down and do the next budget, we'll have that funding in there, or she can move some money around. But that's important because it's a challenge to, as George has taught me, it's a challenge to just grab that money out of nowhere when it's not budgeted. And if you go sit down with Doreen, she'll let you know that it's not there, and she won't be happy about it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I look at every month. You know what I mean? I pass along to you guys. So you just reiterate what Stephen's saying. You don't just do it in October, right? If you're not watching as it goes along, and we have some hefty expenses here, and we've been fortunate with some sale tax revenue that come in above what we budgeted, and the mortgage tax come in. Now the mortgage tax is going down because the rates have gone up. So it's something that needs to be looked at. But to Stephen's point, if there's something you should say something about it. We are very, very fortunate to have had Jack Finnegan, and now we have Doreen Casey, both of the same mindset that the board is. They're very concerned about taxpayer money, and they're keeping a good eye on it. So if you have anything, see her, and it's an ongoing process. It doesn't just happen in a couple of months. Eve? Good?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Sylvia?
Good, looks good.
Stephen?
Thank you.
Okay. So that's that. We'll move to the personnel right now. So everybody go to town board. Adios. Listen, you gonna go see that resident for me?